release for us die-hard, hardcore fans of 3D, whose interest in the quality of the stereoscopy matches or maybe even exceeds our interest in the quality of the film itself. Some people might regard that as a little bit perverse, but I don't think there's any need for them to complain about it. We exclusively look at 3D Blu-rays, and within that niche, almost entirely focus on the quality of the 3D on offer. So unlike most reviews which take a detailed look at the film with a short comment at the end about the 3D, here we do things the other way around, and hopefully by the end of this you'll have a better idea about whether this one might be worth adding to your 3D collection. I'll be putting up some stills from the film, obviously in 2D here, so what follows might contain some minor visual spoilers, but nothing too serious. Today we're looking at Tim Burton's Dumbo remake on UK disc. The aspect ratio is 1.85 to 1, and like virtually all 3D films of the past few years, this one is post-converted rather than being shot in 3D. Whilst that certainly doesn't guarantee that it will be good, it also doesn't automatically suggest that it'll be bad. Everything of course depends on the quality of the planning and execution. So how well planned and executed is Dumbo's 3D? From the moment the film begins, things are looking pretty good. We see a slightly CG-looking train travelling throughout the 1920s Sarasota landscape. This gives various good opportunities to show off 3D, all of which are well taken. And here we see the train, with a smiley face of course, it's Disney, coming straight towards us. And not only is the train a deep, solid object, but this scene also features a shot that I really love, which is the plane of the ground stretching back deep into the frame. It's a really great start, but because it's what looks to me like mostly CG, I did wonder if things were peaking a little bit early. And that concern was nicely swept aside as soon as we arrived at the circus, and you can see how the production design packs the frame with people and props left to right, front to back, and the film continues in that manner throughout. So I assumed that this was shot with 3D very much in mind, although it's worth remembering that some historic conversions where 3D was nowhere on the radar at the time of shooting have also worked extremely well, purely by chance I guess, and Titanic being an obvious example of that. Although I suppose it could also be argued that those films wouldn't have received a conversion unless it was obvious that they offered plenty of opportunities to look good in 3 dimensions. All of that's a bit of a moot point really, as I don't suppose we're going to be seeing any more of those in a hurry. Although I am still holding out a distant hope that James Cameron might one day give us a 3D release of The Abyss. Anyway, when Dumbo arrives into the film from beneath a pile of straw, there's a fantastic, albeit quite subtle piece of 3D. In a less well-constructed conversion, this straw would, I think, be a sort of rounded mound, but here they've clearly worked in individual blades of straw and created a shot that I suspect required a lot of work, as there's so much depth and separation in all of the straw. It's really effective, and another sign that we're in extremely capable stereo hands here. There are a few shots that would attract the label gimmick from the anti-3D brigade. This always strikes me as slightly sloppy thinking, as there are thousands of non-3D films that have similar shots, but no one ever complains about those. So there's this bit where a nasty guy gets shoved into some water, and as is usually the case with this type of shot, it's a split-second moment, almost too brief to enjoy, but it's a nice pop-out moment nonetheless of the water coming straight at us. We get a few elephant point-of-view shots in the film, all in 3D, and whilst Dumbo has been given Disney-esque forward-facing eyes, so his binocular vision makes sense in the same way that his massive ears allowing him to fly make sense. This shot of Colin Farrell is actually to Dumbo's mum, who has regular elephant eyes. I'm not complaining, of course, and it's actually a nice emotional use of a pop-out as it helps put us inside the elephant's mind. There are plenty of crowd shots throughout the film, all of which are excellently realised in 3D, with what looks to me like a slightly hyper stereo effect, as in we see greater depth than human eyes can resolve with their roughly 6 centimeters of separation, meaning that the virtual camera lenses have a greater separation than the human eyes. And for my money, this is the way to go with shots like this, otherwise they can look a little bit flat. There's another really nice and subtle moment when Colin Farrell's in front of a mirror, and I wonder if this was planned at the time of shooting, but I think the dirt on the mirror would have made it a much harder shot to convert, because his reflection has to be behind the dirt. But they did it beautifully, and again, I find find that the depth adds to the emotion of this shot. When the film shifts location to the theme park, there's a fairly stunning sequence of their arrival. This amazed me, as whilst I thought that the film had had a heavily populated frame so far, they really go overboard here with a massively packed frame, really bursting at the seams with detail from the foreground to the background. And this must have been a pretty major challenge for the conversion team, with a huge amount of work to be done, but they pull it off brilliantly. There is one moment in this scene that felt like a tiny missed opportunity to me, where we see Michael Keaton's Rolls Royce come towards the camera, and I think it would have been great to see the car's famous mascot break out of the screen coming towards us, but sadly the Spirit of Ecstasy flying lady is out of focus, intentionally out of focus I should add. So one of the key circus props is a safety net, of course, and we see a few of these throughout the film. It's something which again I think could cause real headaches for the conversion, but they work wonders with this. For example, in this shot they clearly show the net in the bottom part of the frame stretching back to where Eva Green is sitting with Dumbo, and behind them we can see the background clearly behind the net. We get a scene here which feels almost like a nod to the golden age of 3D films of the 1950s, where they would probably spend about 5 minutes on these layer cake dancing ladies. Unfortunately, Burton doesn't feel the need to dwell on them for that long, but this sort of performance is really tailor-made for 3D, and it looks excellent here. Another mainstay of the circus is the danger and thrill of height, and there are several shots of people, and maybe the odd elephant, perched perilously high up. And in this moment, Eva Green is in just such a situation. Shots like this look almost comical and pointless to me, seeing them in 2D after you've seen them in 3D, with the depth doing so much to add impact and emotion to the scene. So I think you can tell that I was completely wowed by the 3D in this film from start to finish. I would say it's a state-of-the-art conversion, which these days means it's state-of-the-art 3D, and I would call it a must-buy for your collection. And credit where credit's due, the conversion house was D-Neg, with a Barry O'Brien being the senior stereo supervisor. As I understand it, this disc isn't even on sale in the US, which is such a shame, as 3D this good really should be seen. It's easily imported, of course, from over here in the UK, and I would urge any American 3D fan to do exactly that. Like I said at the top, I'm not here to review the film itself. There are 1,000 other people out there who'll do that far better than I could, but I suppose it's worth mentioning that I enjoyed it. I confess that I wasn't really brought up on a diet of Disney films, and I've not seen the original, one of the few people perhaps, so I can't compare it to that, but I thought it was good fun. It was great looking even in 2D. It moved along quickly. It's like a lot of the 3D Blu-rays in my collection. This is a film that I probably would have never watched in 2D, but I'm very glad that 3D gave me a reason to see it. I hope you've found this in some way useful, and if so, I hope you'll join me in the bunker again soon for another 3D Blu-ray review. Until then, thanks for looking in on this one. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.